Welcome to Channel Name. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon. What I wish I knew at the start of that rainy Wednesday, instead of what I learned by the end, would have changed everything. The day began like any other Wednesday, gray, wet, and forgettable. The kind of morning where the world feels muffled, as if the rain itself is trying to hush every sound, every thought. I remember staring out the window, watching droplets race each other down the glass. The city outside blurred and distant. I was working from home, papers scattered across my desk, the steady rhythm of rain tapping the windows like a metronome. The house felt unusually quiet, the only company the soft hum of my computer and the occasional creak of the floorboards. My daughter Lily was at school, her laughter and footsteps absent from the halls. My wife Sarah had left early for an appointment. She'd kissed me goodbye, her umbrella already open, and disappeared into the gray morning. I didn't ask questions. I trusted her. Still, a small part of me wondered where she was headed, but I brushed it aside, focusing on my work. After lunch, just as I was settling back into my chair, my phone rang. The screen lit up with my brother's name, Mark. We hadn't spoken in weeks. His voice was tight, urgent, almost trembling. "Can you come over, please?" There was something in his tone I'd never heard before. Fear, maybe, or desperation. The call ended abruptly, leaving a cold knot in my stomach. I stared at the phone, replaying his words, trying to make sense of the sudden urgency. I tried to convince myself it was nothing, just Mark being dramatic, but worry gnawed at me, persistent and sharp. The rain outside seemed to intensify, matching the unease building inside me. I grabbed my keys and coat, barely noticing the chill as I stepped outside. The rain was relentless, soaking me instantly, but I barely felt it. My mind was already racing ahead. The drive to Mark's felt endless. Each red light stretched on, the windshield wipers struggling to keep up with the downpour. My thoughts spiraled. Was he hurt? Was something wrong with his family? Or was it something even worse? Pulling up, I saw Sarah's car in his driveway. My heart skipped. For a moment, I just sat there, watching the rain beat on the windshield, trying to process what I was seeing. Confusion hit. What was she doing here? Her appointment was supposed to be across town. My mind raced with possibilities, none of them comforting. Maybe her appointment was nearby, I reasoned, but it felt off. The coincidence was too strange, the timing too perfect. I walked up the path, rain seeping through my jacket, heart pounding in my chest. Each step felt heavier than the last, dread mixing with curiosity. I rang the doorbell, the chime echoing in the tense silence. The sound seemed to hang in the air, mingling with the rain and my racing thoughts. I braced myself for whatever waited on the other side, knowing that after today, nothing would ever feel quite the same again. Mark opened the door, looking wrecked, red eyes, messy hair, old t-shirt. He stepped aside wordlessly, his movements heavy, as if every step cost him something. The hallway behind him was dim, shadows clinging to the walls, and the air felt thick with something unspoken. The house was chaos, clothes scattered across the floor, empty coffee cups stacked on every surface, and a stale, anxious heaviness that seemed to seep into my skin. It was the kind of mess that spoke of days, maybe weeks, of neglect, of people too overwhelmed to care. Then I saw Sarah, sitting on the couch, clutching a bundle of blankets so tightly her knuckles were white. She was hunched over, as if trying to make herself invisible, lost in a world of her own pain. She looked up, her face hollow, eyes rimmed with guilt and exhaustion. There was a haunted look in her gaze, as if she hadn't slept in days, as if she was carrying a weight too heavy to bear. She looked like a stranger. The woman I loved was there, but changed. Her features drawn, her spirit dimmed, almost unrecognizable in the half-light. From the blankets came a weak cry, a baby's cry, thin and uncertain, barely louder than a whisper. It was a sound that cut through everything else, demanding to be heard. The sound sliced through the silence, sharp and jarring, as if the whole house had been holding its breath until that moment. I froze, unable to process what I was seeing. My mind raced, searching for explanations, but nothing fit. Sarah, my wife, holding a baby in my brother's living room. The scene was so wrong, so out of place, it felt like I'd stepped into someone else's nightmare. Mark avoided my gaze, his face pleading for something I couldn't give. Understanding, forgiveness, maybe just a way out of this impossible moment. The pieces were there. My broken wife, my devastated brother, a newborn. Each of us trapped in our own pain, unable to reach the others. My mind refused to connect them. I felt like I was standing at the edge of a cliff, staring into an abyss of confusion and heartbreak. The rain outside sounded mournful, echoing the shattering inside me. Each drop against the window was like a reminder that nothing would ever be the same. I stared at the impossible scene, my world tilting. Nothing made sense. The life I thought I knew had vanished in an instant, replaced by this surreal, aching reality. Everything I thought I knew was gone. In that moment, I realized I was standing at the threshold of a different life. One I never asked for, and one I didn't know how to survive. I managed a whisper. "What is this?" Sarah shook her head, tears streaming. Mark tried to speak, voice cracking, hands raised in surrender. The room felt suffocating, the secret screaming between us. I thought of Lily at school, blissfully unaware. Every family photo, every memory, suddenly felt like a lie. The baby's cries grew louder, unbearable. I wanted to run, but I was rooted by pain. My mind replayed the last year. Sarah's sickness, her appointments, Mark's absences. The truth hit. My wife and brother had built a secret life right beside me. And now, it was all out in the open. Sarah finally spoke, voice fragile. "John, we need to talk." I stared at her, numb. Mark stepped forward. "It's my baby, mine and Sarah's." The words hit like a punch. I staggered, the world blurring. My brother, my wife, their baby. The betrayal was total. Sarah sobbed. Mark looked destroyed. They had months to tell me, but waited until the truth was undeniable. "We didn't know how to tell you," Sarah whispered. "We were scared." Scared? I wanted to scream. They'd lied for months. They weren't scared. They were cowards. Now, with the evidence in their arms, they wanted to talk. The anger inside me turned cold and hard. There was nothing left to say. Then came the final insult. Mark's voice shook. "John, we need your help. I lost my job. Sarah can't work. We need money. For the baby." I stared, stunned by the audacity. They wanted me to pay for their betrayal. A bitter laugh escaped me. They flinched. They wanted me to support the life they'd built in secret. The nerve was breathtaking. I looked at them. My brother desperate, my wife silent. Was this their plan? For me to accept? To pay? To raise this child? The anger clarified everything. There was a line, and they'd crossed it. I took a steady breath. "No," I said. The word was final. I wouldn't give them a penny. It was the only power I had left, and I used it. I left without another word. The silence between us was deafening, echoing in my ears as I closed the door behind me. My footsteps felt heavy, each one pulling me further from the truth I thought I knew. Rain hammered the car as I sat, hands shaking. The storm outside was nothing compared to the turmoil inside me. My breath fogged the glass, and I gripped the wheel as if it could anchor me to reality. The drive home was a blur, familiar streets now foreign, warped by the rain and my own confusion. Every stoplight, every turn, felt like a question I couldn't answer. My mind replayed their words. "It's our baby. We need your help." The phrase looped endlessly, each repetition heavier than the last. I tried to make sense of it, but nothing fit anymore. Every memory of the past year was tainted. Moments that once felt pure now seemed staged, colored by doubt and betrayal. I wondered how much of my life had been built on secrets. Panic hit. Lily. I had to pick her up soon. The thought of seeing her, of having to smile and pretend, made my chest tighten. She was innocent in all this, and I couldn't let her see me fall apart. How could I pretend everything was normal? The mask I wore felt heavier than ever, threatening to crack with every passing second. I practiced a smile in the mirror. It looked like a grimace, a poor imitation of the father Lily deserved. But I had to try, for her sake. I had to be strong for Lily, to put on the mask of a normal father. She needed stability, even if I was falling apart inside. I rehearsed my lines, my expressions, desperate to shield her from the storm raging within me. I pulled into the driveway, staring at the house that no longer felt like home. Its windows glowed softly, but the warmth inside felt unreachable, as if I was locked out by my own secrets. I took a deep breath, stepped out into the rain, and walked toward a life that was now a lie. Each raindrop felt like a reminder of everything I'd lost in a single night. I had to perform for Lily. I had no choice. The truth would have to wait. Tonight I was just her father, even if I barely recognized myself anymore. The hours after picking up Lily dragged on. We did homework, ate dinner, watched cartoons. I went through the motions, my voice hollow. Lily, innocent, didn't notice. Every sound made me jump, waiting for Sarah to come home. After Lily was in bed, I sat alone in the dark. The family photos mocked me from the mantel. Near midnight, I heard the key in the lock. Sarah entered quietly, pausing in the hallway. I didn't move from my chair. She sat on the far end of the couch, the space between us a canyon. We sat in silence, the weight of everything unsaid pressing in. "I'm so sorry, John," she whispered. The words meant nothing. I stared into the darkness, jaw clenched. She began to talk, how it started a year ago, how she felt lost, how she and Mark grew close. "It was a mistake," she said. "A terrible, stupid mistake." She tried to end it, but it was complicated. She hid the pregnancy, hoping for a solution. She said she loved me, never wanted to hurt me. The words were ash. Love didn't look like this. I listened, heart turning to ice. Every word was another cut. She wasn't just confessing to an affair. She was dismantling our life. The woman I thought I knew was gone. When she finished, the silence was heavier than before. The ugly truth filled the room. When she finished, there was nothing left to say. The truth was out, ugly and real. I didn't yell. I felt empty. I finally looked at her. She was a stranger. "I don't know what to do," she whispered. I had no answers. We were two people in a house that was no longer a home. The future was a void. I stood up, body heavy. "I'm sleeping in the guest room." I needed distance, space to breathe. She watched me leave, her face a pale mask of sorrow. I lay in the guest bed, staring at the ceiling. We were in the same house, but never further apart. All I knew was the crushing loneliness of this moment. The mornings are the hardest part. They have been for a week now. Before my eyes even open, the weight of it all settles back onto my chest. It is a physical thing, a heaviness that makes the simple act of breathing feel like a chore. The secret is no longer a secret, but its ghost lingers in every corner of our home. The air, once filled with easy laughter and the hum of our life together, now hangs thick and quiet. I lie in bed for a few moments, listening to the house settle. I listen for sounds that are no longer there, for the familiar rhythm of my partner getting ready for the day. But the other side of the bed is cold, and has been for days. The silence is a constant reminder of the chasm that has opened between us, a wide and deep space that I don't know how to cross. I swing my legs over the side of the bed and the floorboards creak, announcing my surrender to the new day. Each movement feels deliberate, slowed down by the sadness that has taken up residence inside me. I walk past the closed door of the guest room, where my partner now sleeps. I don't pause. I don't knock. Not yet. It is too soon for that. Right now, my focus is singular, a bright, steady light in the fog of my own hurt and confusion. My daughter, Maya. She is my reason for rising, my reason for pushing the heavy blanket of sorrow away, even if it's just for a few hours. I have to believe that the sun will still rise, that the world will keep turning, and that I can hold our small world together for her. Downstairs, the kitchen is cast in the pale gray light of early March. It looks the same as it always has. The crayon drawings taped to the refrigerator, the pile of mail on the counter, the half-empty pot of coffee from yesterday. But it feels different. It feels like a stage set after the play has ended, the energy gone, leaving only the props behind. I run my hand over the cool granite countertop, grounding myself in the familiar. I think of all the meals we've shared here, the stories told, the homework completed. It all feels like a lifetime ago, a memory belonging to someone else. The betrayal has tainted everything, casting a long shadow over the happy moments, making me question what was real and what was not. My reflection in the dark kitchen window is a stranger. Her eyes are tired, her shoulders slumped. I see the worry etched into the lines around her mouth. I have to be strong for Maya. I repeat this to myself like a mantra, a quiet prayer in the stillness of the morning. She doesn't need to see this stranger. She needs her parent. She needs the steady, unwavering love that has been the foundation of her entire life. And so, I take a deep breath, letting it out slowly. I fill the kettle with water, the sound of the running tap a small, normal noise in the overwhelming quiet. I will make breakfast. I will pack her lunch. I will be the constant she needs. The storm has passed, but we are left navigating the wreckage, and I must be the one to steer us toward calmer waters. Maya comes downstairs a little while later, her hair still messy from sleep, her favorite stuffed giraffe tucked under her arm. She is a whirlwind of bright, innocent energy in the somber quiet of the house. She doesn't say anything about the tension, not directly. But I see it in the way her eyes dart toward the guest room door, in the way she stays a little closer to my side than usual. She is only 7, but she is perceptive. She feels the shift in the atmosphere, the unspoken words hanging in the air like dust motes. She knows something is wrong, even if she doesn't have the language for it yet. Her quiet watchfulness is a testament to the unease that has seeped into the very walls of our home. For her, I create a bubble of normalcy. I pour cereal into her favorite blue bowl. I slice a banana on top, just the way she likes it. We talk about her spelling test, about the drawing of a unicorn she wants to make for her friend. These small, ordinary tasks have become my anchor. Each slice of fruit, each button fastened on her coat, is an act of defiance against the chaos. It is me saying, see, the world has not completely fallen apart. We are still here. I am still here for you. I focus on the gentle rhythm of our morning routine, a familiar dance that provides a sense of stability when everything else feels like it's crumbling. It's a fragile shield, but it's the only one I have. As I braid her hair, my fingers moving through the soft strands, I feel a pang of guilt. I am protecting her, yes, but I am also hiding the truth of my own pain. She leans her head back against my legs, trusting, and my heart aches. This trust is the most precious thing in the world. The secret, the betrayal. It wasn't just between me and my partner. It threatened this too. It threatened the safe, secure world we had built for our daughter. The simple domestic act of braiding her hair feels monumental. It is a promise to keep her safe, to be honest with her in ways that are right for her age, and to never let the storms of the adult world wash away the foundations of her childhood. When it's time to leave for school, she hugs me tighter than usual. I love you, she whispers into my coat. I love you more, I say, my voice thick with emotion. I watch her walk up the school steps, her small backpack bouncing with each step. She turns to wave one last time, a bright, hopeful smile on her face. And in that moment, my resolve hardens. The weight of these small, normal things is immense. They are the building blocks of her security, her happiness, and I will carry that weight, no matter how heavy it gets. I will not let her down. The quiet house awaits me, but for now, I hold on to the image of her smile, a small beacon of light in the encroaching darkness. The house is deafeningly quiet when I return. The silence presses in, amplifying the turmoil in my own mind. I know the conversation cannot be avoided any longer. We have been circling each other for days, communicating through terse text messages and notes left on the counter. But the silence is doing more damage than a difficult talk ever could. It is allowing resentment to fester, letting misunderstanding take root. Taking a deep breath, I walk to the guest room and knock softly on the door. It feels like knocking on a stranger's door, a formal, hesitant gesture in a home that was once defined by its openness and ease. The space between the knock and the response stretches into an eternity. My partner opens the door, looking just as tired as I feel. The room behind is sparse, impersonal. A suitcase sits half unpacked in the corner. We stand there for a moment, two people who have shared a life now separated by a threshold. I motion toward the living room, and we sit on opposite ends of the sofa, a vast canyon of floral-patterned upholstery between us. There is no shouting, no screaming. The anger has burned itself out, leaving behind a landscape of deep, profound sadness. "We need to talk," I say, and the words, simple as they are, seem to hang in the air, heavy with all the things we haven't been saying. I start by talking about Maya. I have to. She is the center of our universe, the one person whose well-being matters more than our own broken hearts. I explain how she is feeling the tension, how her quiet questions and extra-long hugs are her way of showing us she knows something is wrong. I speak calmly, my voice even, though my hands are trembling in my lap. "Whatever happens between us," I say, looking directly at my partner for the first time, "she cannot be caught in the middle. We have to present a united front for her. We have to be honest with each other, so we can be honest with her in a way she can understand. This is not about blame, it is about responsibility." The conversation shifts to trust. I explain how the secret, the lies, have shattered my sense of reality. "It's not just about what happened," I say, my voice cracking slightly. "It's about the fact that I was living in a different reality than you were. I thought we were a team. I thought we told each other everything. We talk about what honesty means now. It means no more secrets. It means open access to phones and emails, not as a punishment, but as a temporary measure to rebuild what has been broken. It feels invasive and awful, but necessary. We talk about boundaries, about what is and isn't acceptable moving forward. It is a painful, awkward, and utterly necessary conversation, the first step on a long, uncertain road." The conversation left me feeling drained, but also strangely clear. The fog of shock and hurt had begun to lift, just enough for me to see the path I needed to take. It wasn't just about my partner. It was about the other person involved, Daniel. The secret had brought his name into our home, a name that now felt like an intrusion, a violation of our family's sacred space. As we talked, I realized that establishing boundaries was not just a suggestion, but a requirement for any hope of healing. My voice was firm, steadier than I thought it would be as I laid out my terms. There could be no more contact, no calls, no texts, no accidental run-ins. A clean break was the only way. This was not about control or punishment. It was about safety. It was about creating a secure environment where trust could, maybe one day, begin to regrow. I explained that our family needed to be a closed circle for a while, a space free from outside shocks and complications. "I need to know that when I am at work, or when Maya is at school, our home is a safe place," I said. "I cannot live with the constant fear of another secret, another lie." It was a line drawn in the sand, a non-negotiable point. Protecting Maya's sense of security, and my own sanity, had to be the priority. Any path forward had to begin with the complete removal of the source of the rupture. My partner listened, their head bowed. There were no arguments, only a quiet, somber acceptance. I think they finally understood the depth of the wound, the extent of the damage that had been done. We agreed that our focus had to be internal, on the two of us and on our daughter. We talked about therapy, both for us as a couple and perhaps individually. We needed a neutral space, a guide to help us navigate this treacherous terrain. We couldn't do it alone. The patterns that led to this point were too ingrained, the hurt too deep. Admitting we needed help was another crucial step, an acknowledgement that our old ways of communicating had failed us spectacularly. The conversation ended not with a resolution, but with a plan. A fragile, tentative plan. Boundaries were set. The need for professional help was acknowledged. But the house still felt heavy, the air thick with unspoken grief. I knew that words were not enough. I knew that I needed space, that Maya needed space. A change of scenery, even a brief one, felt less like a want and more like a necessity. I needed to get away from these walls that seemed to hold the echoes of every pained conversation and every silent, sleepless night. The decision formed in my mind, clear and certain. We were leaving, just for a couple of days, just me and Maya. The decision to leave for the weekend felt like the first real breath I had taken in a week. It wasn't about running away from the problem, it was about running toward a moment of peace. I explained it to my partner that evening. "I'm taking Maya to the lake for the weekend," I said, my tone leaving no room for discussion. "We just need to get out of this house. We need some quiet." There was a flicker of something in their eyes, sadness, understanding, maybe both. They simply nodded. "Okay," they said, "that's a good idea. Be safe." The exchange was brief, but it was a start. It was an acknowledgement of my need for space, a small gesture of respect for the boundary I was creating. Packing was a simple, mechanical act that calmed my racing thoughts. I folded Maya's colorful sweaters, her striped pajamas, and her favorite bedtime story. For myself, I packed a book I knew I wouldn't read, and a thick, cozy cardigan. I didn't pack for a vacation. I packed for a retreat, a temporary escape. Maya was thrilled. To her it was a grand adventure, a surprise trip with just me. Her excitement was a balm to my weary soul. Watching her carefully choose which toys to bring, her face serious with the importance of the task, reminded me of what I was fighting for. Her joy, her innocence, her uncomplicated happiness. This trip was for her as much as it was for me. The next morning we were on the road before the sun had fully risen. The car was a small, safe capsule, moving us away from the heavy silence of our home. I put on a playlist of Maya's favorite songs, and soon the car was filled with her off-key singing. I joined in, my voice a little rusty at first, but growing stronger with each song. The simple act of singing together felt like a miracle. For the first time in days, the tightness in my chest began to loosen, just a little. The further we drove, the more the city and its painful memories receded in the rearview mirror, replaced by rolling hills and wide-open skies. As we drove, I watched the landscape change. The dense suburbs gave way to farmland, and then to forests thick with pine trees. The air coming through the slightly open windows smelled clean and cool. I glanced over at Maya, who was gazing out her window, her eyes wide with wonder. She wasn't thinking about quiet parents or closed doors. She was thinking about the shape of the clouds and the color of the fields. In that moment, she was just a child on a road trip, and I was just her parent, taking her somewhere new. The simplicity of it was beautiful and profound. We weren't escaping the chaos entirely, but we were driving toward a pocket of peace, a place where we could just be. We arrived in the lakeside town as the afternoon sun was beginning its slow descent, casting a golden glow over everything. The town was small and quiet, the kind of place where the main street had one stoplight and the shops closed at 5. It was exactly what I had been hoping for. Our rental cabin was modest, nestled amongst tall pine trees, with a small wooden porch that looked out over the shimmering water. The air was still and smelled of damp earth and wood smoke. As soon as I unlocked the door, Maya ran inside, her footsteps echoing in the quiet space. She claimed the small loft bedroom as her own, her happy shouts a welcome sound after so many days of hushed tones. We spent the rest of the afternoon doing nothing of consequence, and it was perfect. We walked down to the water's edge, skipping stones across the glassy surface of the lake. I watched Maya crouch down to examine a line of ants marching purposefully along a fallen log, her face a mask of intense concentration. There were no distractions here, no emails to check, no tense silences to navigate, No ghosts of a broken promise in the corners of the rooms. There was only the sound of the water lapping against the shore, the call of a distant bird, and the soft murmur of my daughter's voice as she narrated her discoveries to me. Later, as twilight settled over the lake, we sat on the porch wrapped in blankets, sipping hot cocoa. The sky turned from orange to pink to a deep velvety purple. We didn't talk much. We just watched the stars begin to appear, one by one, like tiny pinpricks of light in the vast darkness. It was in these simple, shared moments that I felt a sense of normalcy return. This was us. This was the connection I had been afraid was lost forever, buried under the weight of the secret. But here, in the quiet of the lakeside, I could feel it again, steady and true. It was the feeling of being a parent, of being present, of sharing a small, perfect moment with my child. That night, after I tucked Maya into her bed in the loft, I stood on the porch alone, looking out at the moonlit water. The stillness of the lake was a mirror for the stillness I was desperately seeking within myself. The chaos of the past week felt a million miles away. I knew it was waiting for me back home. I knew this weekend was just a pause, a temporary reprieve. But for the first time, I felt like I could handle it. The quiet had given me space to think, and the simple joy of being with my daughter had refilled a part of me that I thought was empty. The path forward was still long and uncertain, but out here, under the vast, starry sky, it didn't seem quite as impossible. The drive home on Sunday felt different from the drive out. The silence in the car was no longer tense, but comfortable. Maya dozed in the back seat, her head resting against the window, a small, contented smile on her face. I felt a sense of calm that had been absent for what felt like an eternity. The weekend hadn't solved our problems. It hadn't magically healed the deep wound of betrayal or erased the lie. But it had given me something invaluable: perspective. It had provided a space to breathe, to step outside the suffocating atmosphere of our house and remember what was truly important. It had reminded me that my love for my daughter was a force stronger than any storm. As I drove, my thoughts turned to the future. I thought about the rules we had discussed, the difficult but necessary steps of open phone access and shared calendars. It wasn't about suspicion anymore, it was about transparency. It was about creating a new foundation of honesty, one brick at a time, because the old one had crumbled. I thought about therapy, about the importance of having a neutral third party to help us learn how to talk to each other again, how to listen. Rebuilding trust would be a slow, painstaking process. It would require patience, commitment, and a willingness from both of us to do the hard work, day after day. It would not be easy. The relief I felt was not the relief of a problem solved, but the relief of a path chosen. The uncertainty of the future was still there, a vast, uncharted territory. I didn't know if our family would survive this. I didn't know if we could ever get back to the easy, trusting place we were before. But I knew that the first steps had been taken. The silence had been broken. Boundaries had been drawn. A commitment to honesty, however forced it might feel at first, had been made. And I had taken a crucial step to protect my own well-being and the well-being of my child. I had given us a moment of peace, a reset. Pulling into our driveway, I looked at our house. It was just a house. It was the people inside, the choices they made, and the love they shared that made it a home. The heavy feeling I associated with it had lessened, replaced by a quiet resolve. I woke Maya gently, and we walked to the front door hand in hand. I took a deep breath before turning the key in the lock. I could finally breathe a little easier. I knew the road ahead was long, and that healing would take time. But as we stepped back inside, I felt a flicker of hope. It was small, and it was fragile, but it was there. And for now, that was enough.